gold, and it's
It's
just
gold.
falling
We
to the
shouldn't be
wayside.
losing it.
All this gold
Everyone
is
should be
falling
talking
to-
about Glengary.
So yeah, we just right off the bat, the last thing we were planning on doing in like what 2019 was like, oh, we got to have Doug on sometime to talk about, because the last thing we did was that big ass stream about adaptation, and I forgot what other movies, but we were
John
basically
Malkovich, was that in there? His other works?
that, and didn't we also go over Barton Fink and that kind of
Oh
stuff?
yeah, Barton Fink.
We talked about
that's actually
all of
worth
that
talking
stuff.
about. Everything else is stupid.
Yeah,
Nothing else matters.
Everything else is literally terrible.
literally. Someone say literally. That's right. I don't have the banner up.
Literally.
Oh, the lights. Yeah, we're actually. It's a new year, so new pronunciation for literally.
Literally.
Y into it.
Literally.
Is this the former comic creator? No longer comic creator. We're here to announce Earthworm Jim 3 canceled forever, never coming out.
Never. You guys shut up.
It's like Fez 2.
Yeah, Fez 2. It got like Doug TenNapel's the Phil Fish of the comic world.
I hear that all the time too. I mean, there's barely even a Fez 1.
Yeah, I played Fez 1 and I was like, this game sucks.
It's hard. I mean, it's homemade by one guy who went nuts.
Yeah, which usually is impressive. Like, I've played games made by one or two.
Cave Story was made by one guy, and that was a good game.
Yeah, Cave Story, Space Pirates and Zombies was made by like two people.
Well, the Japanese, it makes more sense that they're going to get it right.
Yeah,
because they can dedicate that time, the typical 20-hour work day for them.
I'm going to put on my headphones just because it's a special show. It's been a long, long time. I think the last one was like the beginning of 2020.
A long road getting.
That's been a long time. That's been 2 years.
Yeah, pretty much. And I don't know, not much has happened since then, I guess. It's funny. Well, we did release a couple comics, but instead of you doing comics, you found something else that just makes a shitload more money. Which
that's fun. It's fun.
Mm-hmm.
It's really fun. It's YouTubing is fun, and it's all still stupid.
Comics are fun for a while. Yeah,
also stupid, but I mean everything is. This goes back to why I like the idea of making fun of all media. This, you guys have heard me do this rant forever. Mm-hmm. Is that everyone's just making pop junk? Okay, no, I don't care how good your comic is. Mao's the Pulitzer, became a political hockey puck, the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Everything's just being used for churn, and the political rage debate is more interesting than what anyone is making. So everyone's we're all trying to make stories, NFTs, fine art, music, comic books. You can write your novel. It really doesn't matter. It's all going onto a giant just heap. It's going to burn when Jesus comes back. It's all going to just burn on a ash heap. No one's going to remember it, and no one's going to care.
We need something to set on fire for the day that.
Yeah, we need to create more kindling.
Yeah,
but I mean, after tomorrow.
Yeah, but even Shakespeare's barely read. Shakespeare's barely read.
He's barely readable. So Shakespeare guy, whatever.
He was okay. He had an 8th grade education.
He's okay. 5 out of 10. He's okay.
He's a solid Shakespeare. Everything else is really bad, but Shakespeare's a solid 5.
Yeah,
5, maybe a 6.
Up 10.
A low 6.
A low 6, perhaps. Yeah. The one of my favorite lines in all of MST3K history was they do Hamlet in season 10, their final season, and at the end of it, Mike just goes, "Nice play, Shakespeare." just as dismissive as Shakespeare deserves.
Oh, it's fun.
So speaking of good things, Glengary, Glenn Ross.
Yeah, we were that. Yeah, that was the whole point. Is some point at like late 2019, early 2020, we were like, at some point we'll have Doug back on to talk about movies. The segment we used to do was movies you should watch if you want to be a great artist. and
And
adaptation.
a good person.
Yeah, and a good person. Yeah, that was my brother actually was thinking about that just a month ago when we were talking about like, we need to have Doug on to finally at least do one final stream, the final stream with Doug TenNapel, where we talk about Glengary, Glenn Ross, and he was like, "Yeah, it should, instead of movies to be a great artist, it's just movies if you want to be a good person." And it's like, yeah, I think that's more to the point. That's better.
Because we need to cancel everyone. Everyone should get canceled, first of all, and their whole career should be destroyed. But none more than people who dislike these movies.
Yes.
So at least this is the list of movies that would make us feel kind of bad if your whole career got destroyed.
Yeah,
but if you hate these movies, then it's probably not a big loss.
I mean, the people in the movies are so great. Even the guy who plays the office manager, he's really good.
Especially somebody who says they like the movie, but then they secretly don't actually like the movie. They should be destroyed.
I don't even understand. Like, you don't really see that often. It's bizarre, but you don't see that often. But yeah, one of the things when I saw that you were named Jim was because, like, to avoid the bizarre thing that YouTube was just like nuking channel after channel that you were making.
Yeah.
Which was just stupid. And the line I had right before we started streaming was that YouTube is really just the gulag that we voluntarily commit ourselves to.
Yeah.
And
we're not stuck in here. We're not stuck in here with them. They're stuck in here with us.
Yeah.
I like that too. Yeah.
But
I'm the one who knocks.
Yeah. The Glengary, Glenn Ross, though, one of the most underrated. It was actually one of the movies that we saw like in the 90s, in that era where we were just riding the bike up to the video store every single day, renting a movie from like the old movies that weren't the new releases would be $1 for
it was
5
actually
days.
it was a really nice system, and it makes me miss video stores. It was $1 for 5 days for an old movie.
Yeah, and so we would just go and rent random stuff and watch it because we weren't doing anything else and we didn't want to do anything else.
So just like now.
Yeah, exactly.
It's Amazing Adam.
Yeah, and the Amazing Adam's here. Now we're having finally everyone's here. But,
finally the band getting the band back together again.
Yeah. I did invite Tim and Mark, by the way, but they're busy. So it's like, yeah.
They've got, look at those. They're too pro.
Yeah. They're actually making comics.
They're actually the only one providing content, real content right now.
Actually doing.
Well, I did not retweet your tweet that you put out. Let me find that.
You should do that.
Mark did that. We do want to have Tim and Mark on again sometime soon. Mark told me that maybe in March or something. So that's something to look forward to.
Is it? Okay.
Well, let's talk about Nier Automata.
Oh, that's a good show. The good game show.
Look, it's Nick Sonata.
Yeah. Anyways, yeah, that's the thing, is that the goal is still the same, essentially, to get money and get funding. It's like it's just taken like all these different avenues, even with us. But Tim and Mark,
does anything work? Forget Tim and Mark; they already made it work. So they're less of a mystery to me. You guys are a mystery, because when I last checked you guys, you were doing literally, and then I see a new link out. Hey, everyone, buy my comic, and it was literally. So, are you producing anything? What is working?
The number 2 for literally is stalled out a lot. I've been I had a team working on it, and the whole shutdown messed with a lot of their lives. Didn't mess with my life. Everything's good for me.
I know we were this. I was the same way. I was basically living the COVID life before it came along, so it wasn't a big adjustment.
Yeah, that's what.
I didn't drive to an office.
That's what makes me really resent other people. Is like, what am I going to do? I can't go outside anymore. It's like, who cares?
So you had no mercy on your contractors, and they said, "I can't work. I feel a little sick." You're like, "Shut up."
Well, that's
Start
what I
drawing,
want to do,
baby.
You know what? I used to kind of be like that, where
you have to.
It was years ago, though. Back in the webcomic days, I knew somebody who could draw, and I would try and pester them as much as I could, but I wasn't paying them because I didn't have money, and there wasn't, like, PayPal didn't even exist back then. So all I could do is try and pester them, and ultimately it's just like, am I just like cracking the whip for nothing? And it's, it wasn't even for a comic
the
that
realization
had a
hit
readership.
you. Well, look at Alfonso Prouty. Tim and Mark are real comic makers, unlike Doug TenNapel. What he doesn't realize is I am an ear doctor.
Yeah, that's more important.
So unlike me,
headphones.
Tim's and Mark are no ear doctors.
Alfonso Prouty, I think, did back your last comic and receive it.
Oh, good.
I'm
recognizing all these names. These are all my good people.
Yeah, these are the regular audience.
These are all our friends, just like we are still friends with Doug TenNapel.
Yeah, always
just revisiting our
there's
friends.
People. I can't imagine doing anything bad enough to you guys that would get you guys to hate me.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, mostly I'm indifferent to everyone.
The security of a friendship is based on how much you can dump on the other guy and have him still come back around for more. So, some people have a thin skin, and if you do like a tiny, tiny thing, they're like, that's it for life. And I am that way with some people, by the way. Some people, they cross me one tiny way. I'm going like, you were never a long-termer already. So you do, they can do one little thing, and I'm just like, not.
I consider what the condition is. Like for me, it's usually like if they lied about something that they didn't need to lie about, I'm like, okay, if it involves me, they're out. But if it doesn't involve me, they're just
now for red flags. I always have to be watching out for people who are going to give away that they're secretly not trustworthy.
Yeah, when I think back to a lot of the names that I haven't even thought of in like the last couple of years, like that Australian guy, like he's an example of a guy who's like, okay, there's some red flags, and I can just ignore them, I guess. And so I ignored them, and it's like that I shouldn't have even ignored them.
That is a thing. Well, Comicsgate, the very first thing that happened.
Yeah, we're too forgiving. We're too nice. Yeah, that's another thing, is that Comicsgate was essentially the thing that showed up through all these red flags, and it's like, oh, that's not a good sign.
I want to support this thing, though. Yeah, we need a Comicsgate. I don't like that it's called Comicsgate. There's no gate, but let's try and support this. Let's get this movement going. I'm going to try and signal boost. And, they made $1 million.
They made it just like the guy who made the Jump to Conclusions, Matt. He made
the guy who made the Pet Rock made $1 million.
$1 million. But yeah, like in 2015, we're like, there should be a.
We should do a review of Office Space.
Yeah, Office Space.
The last video.
I'm only so on Office Space, by the way. I hope that's not on your list of people you have to murder if they don't like. I like it.
It is,
but I'm not.
Oh no,
crazy! It's not crazy solid. Not the way like Glengary, Glenn Ross knocked me off my feet. Office Space, I just went, oh, this is good. This is good, but it's not like, whoa.
Office Space kind of hit at the right time, though, because it was like a different version of Fight Club. That was Fight Club was really stylish, but it was essentially about the exact same thing.
Yeah.
And I liked both of those movies. I just really liked how funny Office Space is. The same way I liked how funny Idiocracy is. I don't even care about like, oh, Idiocracy is now a documentary. It's like, I just like the movie for being funny. That's all I care about.
Yeah, and they do cool things. It's true about Fight Club and Office Space, in that they are questioning the things that everyone just goes along with and thinks they have to do.
Being
to wear the flair,
drama.
But wear the flair. It's about
there's so many memorable things in Office Space. It's like it's hard to say that it's not a great movie.
I also have to appreciate now, and I didn't really even appreciate this back then, that it's like very pro working class. The construction worker guy in any other movie would be the villain.
Yeah, or the redneck hick. The stupid redneck hick would be some kind of bad guy, but instead he's the funny, cool neighbor who can just hear through the walls. He's like, oh, check it out. The massage chick is on Channel 6 again. It's like, oh, ignore that guy. It's no problem.
And I do like that the comedic actor that played the lead ended up being the lead in Band of Brothers.
Yeah, that's right.
He played the alcoholic guy. He was really good in that too. I liked him. Like, the Office Space guy.
Yeah, I haven't seen him in a lot of stuff lately, but I kind of wish I would, because he was great in pretty much everything he was in back then.
Those are some big deal roles too, though. Band of Brothers and Office Space.
Also, the speaking of Office Space, though, Mike Judge definitely seems very aware, if you will. He a bit red sunglasses. He swallowed the red
sunglasses from They Live.
Yeah.
Yes. Which is cool.
But he's always been that way. He's and I don't know how far to the right he is. I think there are just rugged independents, you know, kind of like the Hunter S. Thompson. You know,
it's
not that they're for something; it's that they're so radically not going to be pinned down that they might as well be on our side because the other side wants abject conformity.
Yeah, it's funny. Hunter S. Thompson, in a way, was a leftist in a lot of ways, but then he would just have guns and fire them off, and it's like, you know, he would not be accepted by any of the left.
That's a funny thing. And I remember him bragging about his safety record. He's like, I got a safety record. And then he ended his life by shooting himself. And it's like, I guess that safety record's over.
Yeah, it only takes one time for the entire safety record to just be erased.
Well, at least it was the last.
Yeah.
Last time. And then he was spared having to write stuff for us anymore.
Yeah, in a way, yeah. The modern era, if he was still around, it's like, would he be insufferable? The same questions for like George Carlin and that kind of thing. Is like, would he just be terrible? Bill Hicks,
yeah, George Carlin was always way more leftist than any of these other comedians are. You know, like guys like I think like Louis C.K. is to the right of Carlin. You know, not to the right, but to the center, more open-minded than Carlin.
Yeah,
I think Bill Burr, Bill Burr, those guys, they're way more radical than Carlin. And Carlin was just kind of a boomer who just kind of pretended like he was burning both sides down. But, you know, this guy voted for Hillary. Come on.
Yeah, absolutely. He would vote for Hillary twice and voted for Hillary just a couple years ago, too. I didn't know that.
Yeah, weird. The dead can
it's
keep
pretty
voting.
Impressive.
A lot of dead people voted for Hillary.
Yeah, exactly. Oh no, our channel's going to go.
Oh, there it goes.
Yeah, it's gone.
I was kidding, Lord YouTube. I was kidding. Forgive us. Forgive us. Can I pay an indulgence to avoid your inquisition?
No jokes allowed. Nick Sonata mentioning though, will you be making Bigfoot Bill 3? You're still going to make those other comics at some point, right?
I mean, I fully intend to. I've got that. I've got all the note cards all outlined, all stacked up, ready to go for Bigfoot Bill 3.
It's just that when you can make sick, nasty amounts of money on NFTs.
Oh, you'd be crazy to turn it down.
Well, yeah, like Sam Hyde said, it's like, yeah, of course, NFTs are a total scam. You're right. Enjoy not making $1 million.
Enjoy being broke forever.
Forever.
Yeah, go break rocks for your minimum wage.
Break rocks, then kick rocks.
Keep your dignity.
Well, here's the other thing is I can't imagine enjoying drawing Bigfoot Bill when there's this opportunity sitting here on my desk that is like, just draw some art and see if you can sell just a ton of it for 100 times more. So you go, yeah, I don't really have to do that. I don't have to just draw and have fun and make 100 times more. I don't have to do that. I agree. It's not mandatory. But it's really hard to sit over on that table and just like work as hard as I possibly can at making something beautiful that I know is barely going to make me profit. So you just go, look, do you mind? Do you guys mind if I take like a year, maybe 2 years off drawing after I did 640 pages in 2 years? None of your other artists did that. In fact, even Tim Lim, as prolific as he is, you know, he's writing them, but he's not drawing. He does some drawing. But I'm saying, when you do 640 pages, give me a call and then put me back to work. When you all catch up, when all you little amateurs catch up, you can come and talk to me about my output.
Is he about to do that?
It's going to take most of these people, it's going to take them 10 years before they hit that. So fine, give me 10 years off and I'll catch up to all of your other artists that you guys pay for and love.
And the profit margin for Common America, like it's growing, and the comic is growing, and the brand is growing, which is really good. And it's almost like you can't buy that. But the thing is that the profit margin for that isn't huge, and hopefully that will grow. But NFTs are like 5 minutes of work will get you like, $200
Yeah,
at least.
yeah, there's zero printing, so the margin is almost 100%.
And that's one thing about the thing is, I've never really like NFTs. I'm like, I don't really like them, but I mean, yours are certainly cool. And there's also Capsule Machine, which is done by a bunch of people, including.
I want to make sure people know about Capsule Machine at the very least. If anyone cares about NFTs, they should care about Capsule Machine.
Yeah, it's a fun project, and they're just doing another project. They're a bunch of guys. It's no different than if they said we're going to go into crowdfunding comics. But if Capsule Machine went in there, they wouldn't make a dime. They'd be another tiny guy going, I have to get my YouTube channel and I have to hate the right people in order to get the funding.
You got to have at least 10,000 subscribers on your YouTube channel.
Or the same group of artists many of them were doing comics. They go and do a Capsule Machine. There's some income coming in.
Mm-hmm.
So, and with Tim Lamb, I think his margins are tiny, but he's doing great because the Common America brand is what's working.
Yeah, he intentionally sells the book for less. The book's still $10 just for a book, and it ships. Like, they're increasing to international shipping and all this stuff. So it's growing. It's just that, their goal isn't really to make a lot of money, which is kind of a good thing, because it's about getting the visibility of the comic out there. And I really like the comic. And it's also one thing that we were pointing out that's unique specifically about Common America and Tim and Mark's comics is you will regularly see people talking about how much they like the characters, and you don't see that for anyone else's comics just about, except, for hours, of course.
Something I mentioned was that one thing I definitely noticed is that with Common America, people mention favorite parts of the story that they like, and it's like,
they're like,
I just realized is nobody mentions this about certain other people who make
because certain other people their writing is terrible.
Well, they're just selling ideology, and that's something, of course, when I say we've been saying this for years, you were actually there with us when we were saying it years ago, and so was Tim and Mark too.
There's Tim saying, did Robert say hi to you for me? Don't listen to his lies about how I screamed at him. Robert, our mutual printer, just came over my house yesterday.
The API guy?
I made him breakfast.
That's cool.
He's doing a food truck, and I'm going to draw some comic characters and help him with his logo on his food truck.
What kind of food?
Italian food, like spaghetti and meatballs.
Mm-hmm. That'd be great.
Gourmet
most
Italian
of the food trucks around here are tacos, which are good.
I like tacos.
Yeah, taco truck tacos are shockingly good usually.
No, he only had good things to say. We love Tim. He only had good things to say about Tim. And Doug Ernst was calling Robert on another line while we were having cigarettes. So I don't know. I said, put him on, get Doug in here.
Because you all have, that's API.
Yeah.
Was it API International or just API Printing or something?
API Print Productions or something like that.
Yeah, that's right. But those are the guys that all of you use. And it's funny because they're based in America. They print in America, all that stuff. And it's weird seeing all the other comic creators printing with companies in China and, that kind of, and it's like, okay, I can understand if you're saving a lot of money, but if they're not. It's like not really that much more expensive to have API.
They're not saving money, and they're definitely not charging their customers less.
Yeah, exactly. Their books are still like $25, and they're printed in China, and the paper is cheaper.
The paper's cheaper, and there's guys going around saying it's the expensive paper because they don't know a thing about comics,
or they don't want to admit it. Like there's some duplicitous behavior.
Dude, there's the dumbest. I would sit there and watch the conversations about even story and character, and you just go, "This is these guys.
These
don't
people
know
are clueless.
Thing about story and character. Wait, they don't know anything about printing. They've never printed anything in their lives,
and they're all
the whole audience
creators.
Because they have a fandom. The whole audience is repeating everything they say.
They're not trying to learn either. That's also the key thing. Is like I didn't know anything about printing or any of the stuff either, but I want to learn. I want to get better at that.
Yeah, as soon as you print your first book, you'll learn 100 times more than you did before. As soon as you print them, I'm saying they had not printed a book, so they literally didn't know. Literally.
And a lot of them had never made a single comic book in their entire lives, just jumped in, were acting like they were comic creators, and had no clue how to structure a story. It reminds me every time of that line in Adaptation where he's reading some quote about a review of The Orchid Thief, and he's like, it's that sprawling New Yorker shit. I can't structure this. And it's like, he understands at least that he can't structure the story and information in The Orchid Thief. Whereas these people who are just suddenly into comics and comics creators, they're acting like they're comics pros when they've never made a single thing in their life.
Yeah. And not only that, but they would tell lies about me. They would go, Doug, he really isn't big on story. He's a cartoonist. And I'm like, go ahead. I've read all your works, all you guys. And then the whole audience would say the same thing. They go, Doug really doesn't know story. He's a cartoonist. I go, okay.
Yeah, it's like, they're
okay, guys.
Them being experts because they all agree with each other.
Go get your movement on. And you're going to really replace Marvel. It's going to be great.
Yeah, enjoy your movement, your revolution. That's another thing that got brought up on our Discord earlier was like, there's the whole talk of revolution. It's like, revolution's really only something that's in retrospect. You can't say you're going to do a revolution. You can only decide that a revolution's happened after it's happened, if it does at all.
Yeah. Well, and they're going like, I'm trying to think of my favorite, like a lefty writer, like Alan Moore. They're going, guys, we're going to topple that leftist Alan Moore. And then, and they replace him. And they replace him with like a preschool book going, okay, we won. Because we took down Alan Moore. We placed it with preschool.
It's like Thick Boy in Charge when they got C.B. Cebulski. They didn't, of course, but C.B. Cebulski was made the editor-in-chief at Marvel. And it's like, we won. And it's like, no, nothing's going to happen. And indeed, nothing happened. If anything, it got worse.
It only gets worse.
Amazing Adam says, can I get Common America on Antarctic Press? I don't know about that, but I do know that you can get it on Iconic Comics, the website. If you live in America, it's really easy to just go to the Iconic Comics website and order a copy of that or the Walmart books. That was, what was funny? I know all of this is old news. We've had you on to talk about all this, and some of those streams actually still exist somewhere on the internet. But the whole the idea that nobody disagrees with us unless they're SJWs, and I was like, hold on, I got a disagreement, and one of them was the idea of no politics allowed in comics. And it's like, hold on a second. There shouldn't be any rules in comics at all. As long as it's an interesting story or even if it's not an interesting story, it can be complete shit, but just make it, that is kind of.
They were trying to find a reason why they were trying to find a reason why they hated all this SJW stuff. But they didn't realize that none of their reasons were principled because they were so morally illiterate and fomenting moral illiteracy.
Yeah.
They would just find one word that someone would guess and say, what's wrong with it? I think it's that there's politics in it. It's like saying that there's wrong because there's words in it, because it's not that, and also they would ignore just the vast history of literature where like 75% of it is political. Some of the greatest masterpieces, greatest comics ever made were political. Even Superman, Truth, Justice, and the American Way, it's political.
Watchmen.
And they're going, you got to get rid of, we got to go back to when before it was political.
Some of Alan Moore's political stuff sucks. Like, I always thought V for Vendetta, the comic, wasn't that good, but Watchmen's good. And it's very political. It's overtly political, but in a way, it's political from a lot of avenues that I think even Alan Moore didn't understand himself necessarily. By the way, I did send Tim an invite, so maybe he'll show up in the next few minutes.
That is also the thing about it being political. That's kind of like why the right is losing the culture war, besides being like, oh, do you see how ridiculous this thing is? And then just blowing it off instead of actually trying to come up with something on their own. There's a lot of people. It is kind of the left that is owning this ability to put in a narrative, but make it kind of, I guess, surreptitious. So
that's why I always like the Walmart books.
It doesn't look like it's just boilerplate.
I think I can challenge that a little bit because I don't know if you guys watched Matt Reese's show on Earthboard Jacobus the other week when they were talking about, they brought on, I would say, 3 other probably pretty conservative guys, Matt Krotz, Marmaduke Fan, and Twitless, and Matt Reese were talking about Earthboard Jacobus. They did a big overview of it. And they were kind of saying the politics in this book is too on the nose and too boomer because it was saying that the aliens were basically communists.
For your book was too on the nose?
Yeah. I just think
sometimes they are, but
just remember the culture that we swim in is going to inoculate you from what they're actually doing. So you can get away with far more blatant leftist ideology, blatant atheist ideology, blatant feminist ideology. You can get away with more of it before you get called out. But if you have a character just even passively talking about Jesus, it's going to look like a turd on a wedding dress. And it's not because it's any more blatant or more political. It can be just as subtle as the leftist does. So that's my challenge. Is it's not that they're better at being subtle. It's that their message is so in the air that it doesn't stand out as much. So they don't get a credit for being subtle. Everyone's just as blatant. You're just conditioned culturally to show judgment to one side and give the other side a little more of a pass.
Yeah, it's like they've already replaced the air with their own smoke.
Yeah. Well, but with a lot of that, though, I think a lot of people, there is pushback against a lot of that nowadays. You know, they're trying really hard, and of course, their response is like, "Oh, you don't like the new Lord of the Rings? You're racist." You know, that's where the pushback is, but.
We talk about lowering the bar on the definition of racism too.
Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, the leftists have been able to like sneak in their message better.
Yeah,
essentially.
Well, they're really good at crowd manipulation and using passion and gaslighting. It's all gaslighting,
and there's a lot of other aspects too. But
they're not even trying to do it; they just do it.
Yeah. No, yeah, it's kind of an instinctive thing. Anyways, I would go on into that a bit more, but I need to introduce Tim. He's on the show now?
The Tim. Welcome.
Hey, how's it going, Doug? How's it going, guys?
It's been a really, really, really long time. It feels like it's been 10 years.
Yeah, it really hasn't. It hasn't been that long, but you know, Mark and I don't really stream unless we just have something to talk about.
Yeah.
We're too busy doing other things too.
All of us have stopped streaming for one reason or another. Why did Doug stop streaming? Oh yeah,
right. He's a fugitive.
Yeah, they took my. I have an excuse. They took my microphone away. You guys don't have an excuse.
One time after another too, and that was really like almost a victim of fame in a way. Because you got like what 500,000 subscribers in the course of 1 month, and then you were gone 1 day later. Essentially,
you know what I appreciate about Doug is that he's like Freddy or Jason in those movies. You think he's dead for one movie, and he comes back in the sequel, and there's no pause in between. I remember because he got like deplatformed, and then like the next day, it's like, "Hey guys, I'm doing NFTs." I was like, "Dadgum. Can't kill this guy, can you?"
That's one thing I appreciate about the NFT. Like normally with NFTs, it's like, you know, if I had the money, would I even get one? Probably not. But at the same time, if it's making money for people who can use it, and it's like, you know, what's the downside to them?
I gotta tell you a story. Money? So we have a mutual friend, Alejandro Mirabal. He's the guy who did Long Harbor. And something happened.
You sent us a copy.
I did. Did you? I don't know if you've read it or not.
I haven't yet. I'm kind of wary of reading anyone else's comics.
I think it's good.
I think you'll like it.
I like the art. The art's fantastic, but it's like I really can't judge a comic by its art anymore.
The good thing about it is this: it's not a book that you judge. It's just good because it's basically just like reading a movie. Is essentially what it is.
Well, if it's a nice thing to look at, I'm cool with that, especially if I get it for free. But
I didn't know what to get you guys because I thought they probably have the library of my books already. I'm gonna give them.
Yeah,
this
you sent
book
us
because-
Not only do you send us every book you make, I buy most of them anyway. So you
Yeah,
don't
and I
even
tell
have
you
to
not
send
to do
them.
that. I'll send you some stuff if you need it. It's not a
Well,
problem.
gee,
We send friends stuff all the time. There's one lady. Her name is Reba, and she's been supporting us since like
the
the very
mermaid.
beginning. Yeah,
Or
and
not a mermaid, I guess.
she's super cool. We saw her at a convention last summer, and she knows. I told her and her sister, I said, "You guys need anything, you just message me." You know, that's not an open invitation to everyone, but it's like we remember the people who have been
The
friends.
people who actually help you out.
Yeah, and she doesn't just. Here's what I like about our readership: they don't like us, so they don't like Mark and I. They don't like our personality. They like the
I
work.
sure don't.
Yeah.
Well, you're not branding your personality.
Yeah, exactly.
No.
You're not literally. Yeah, you're not selling your personality or your ideology. You're just selling your books.
We're bland, honestly. Like in real life, we're really dumb. We act like Beavis and Butthead. Doug Ernst had to ride in a car with us for 16 hours, and I was like, this guy is not going to think highly of us once the car ride is over, because it's just Mark and I making like fart jokes at each other, basically. And Doug Ernst is really straight laced, but I didn't know if he was amused by any of that or not. I was going to tell Doug a funny story. There's a mutual friend. Well, I don't want to say mutual friend. It's a guy that Doug knows, but this guy has been hounding me incessantly, wanting my media contacts, and this guy joined up with the other side.
Yeah. I was like, what is this? Some person who's just, and then like, oh yeah, wait, I know exactly who you're talking.
I don't know if you know or not. I know Doug does, because this is the last time he and I spoke, which was like 2 months ago. I was like, hey, you know this guy? And he's like, yeah. Why?
Did I
And
know
was
him?
like,
I don't know his name. Do I remember him?
Oh, you'll know who it is when I'll tell you later. But
is it somebody's boy?
No, it's a guy who he should just know better, but he's with that crowd of former professionals who want to coalesce into one group. And
that's the thing that I did think.
Oh, then he's poisoned. Do I even know anybody still in that group?
I don't think so, but I can't believe it, because this is the third time in a year where someone from there, they won't say anything publicly, but they'll come to us privately and ask us for stuff.
Yeah,
and they want.
They're all of them cowards.
Yeah, they want a status jockey. They basically want to get in behind the back door.
It's just the audacity of, like, how these people treat us publicly
and have for years.
And you don't even. And so what I did was I said, look,
they'll never say anything because they're
right. I don't want to. I don't like to deny anyone who in earnesty needs something from me that I can provide. But when I go through your Twitter feed and you don't say anything about us publicly, there's not even an inch of acknowledgement or support, and you think you're going to barge into my direct messages and say, hey, I know you have a media contact here, I want to talk to them and I want their platform. I was like, who?
And I do, and I have friends who are cowards.
Yeah, there are quite a lot of moral cowards out there, just all over the place, really. All over, especially on YouTube. They're mainstream YouTubers and that kind of thing.
Yeah. It's you know what? Sometimes it is too hard of a burden to bear in public to just say, I privately, my friends adore me and we're just buddies and we're close. And then it's asking a totally different level of commitment for them to go out in public and say, I know him and I'm probably going to lose my work for saying that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So when you see those friends out in public who aren't afraid of that, and they're willing to go down with you or whatever, they're willing to just take it all down to the bottom of the trench. You just go, oh, okay, that's a different kind of friend. That one there is just closer and someone who I trust and someone who I can lean on more. And so you develop these guys where I go, oh, I don't agree with this guy. He's an atheist or an alcoholic or he's a terrible person or whatever, but I know I can count on him. He's not going to be the one that's going to turn my name in at the end. But this friend over here, he'll turn my name in.
Mm-hmm.
The thing I was going to say about Alejandro is that there was something that he needed some financial assistance with. And so I agreed. I said, that's not a problem. And then I hadn't heard anything for quite a while. And I said, hey, I don't know how the NFT thing is going, but as far as like our relationship is concerned,
that was an interesting project too.
You don't have to worry about it. And he was like, no, it's doing so good that I don't have to worry about the financial side of things.
Yeah.
And I was like, what, really? And he goes, yeah, you can just tell the people that we're dealing with to just revoke the invoice and I'll take care of it. So I just thought to myself,
I walked him through it. I said, your art would be great in here. And because I only give good advice that turns people into millionaires, because I only give good advice, and anyone who says I have bad advice actually want you to lose money and destroy your whole career.
You want to make a lot of money? Just talk to Doug TenNapel. Get hooked up with, become one of his friends, and keep his secrets for him and all that.
Yeah, just carry my water a little bit, just a little bit.
Attack other people in his name.
We're doing a playbook too. My next book is Earthworm Tim.
Oh, really?
No.
I love it.
Dirtworm Tim, the backstabber.
Yeah, all I got to do with Earthworm Tim is find a way to do it under a pen name. See, and then I could publish it.
Me and my brother, we have the best pen names. Believe it.
The best, believe me.
Anyways, I like how very diplomatic you were about not bringing up who you're talking about, and because it's not apparently who I was thinking of, I guess it's okay for me to say that Richard C. Meyer was another person who was begging you for your contacts.
That's a little bit different because I've known him, we've actually met each other and stuff like that, but I haven't heard from him in like 3.5 years. And then all of a sudden we've been just getting some emails just from him, and
he's been doing just video after video too. Just saying, and so talking you guys up.
Well, so far he hasn't had the angle of trying to approach us for anything, but I think that, so I don't think he's going to try and emulate our model, because our model is, I don't understand why you
actually finishing comics.
Right. I don't understand why you would ask your customer, how do you feel about lateness? Because it's, again, I don't like using like the, fast food analogy, but you never hear McDonald's saying, what do you think of crappy burgers? Like, that's just not an option, because by insinuating that, you're trying to prime your audience and say, hey,
it's a Streisand effect too.
This is the standard. The standard is crappy burgers. So I'm like, we don't even ask people, what do you think of late books? We just do it. Like, if you don't have late books, that's just one less thing for them to complain about.
I don't even do polls. I don't even do polls anyways, Tim, because I don't care what people think.
Yeah. But I mean, you don't have late books
all
either.
Polls are designed. All polls are designed to confirm what you already believe.
Yeah, to give you the confirmation bias and sort of like stroke the egos and that kind of thing.
Yeah, so I'm going to go,
everyone likes me, right? Yes, no.
Books? What do you think of late books? If they say they love it or they hate it, I'm going to have my own opinion on it and go with that. So if every single person in my backer pool said, we love late books, I'm not going to start making late books. I literally don't care what you think about it.
Why not?
You know what I mean?
I think that the difference, though, is that because we're basically a confederacy under an imprint. The imprint, they only look at the business side of things, because they're not artists at all. They just have, their bottom line is they have to make sure that their reputation is there. And so there's that kind of neat dichotomy between the artist and the business side, because the business side will always keep us in check regardless of what we think, as far as like, well, we don't care about this opinion, but they'll say, well, we do, because obviously our side of things is that we have to make sure that the business is airtight, that there's very, very minimal complaints, if any.
But do audiences really care even about the business brand?
I think some of them do, because
Iconic, do they outsell like Dynamite books, which are just all terrible? I'm going like Dynamite probably shows a bigger bottom line than them, so people don't care about.
I think it would depend on
the integrity of a brand.
I think it depends on either the units sold or the money component. And I mean, there's two ways of looking at that, but I can tell you they do extremely well.
Yeah, we do look like Diamond Comics like crash their own brand into the ground through just being so incompetent.
Yeah. And some of that might change. Like in the future, Iconic could be seen as like the company that you really is the only place you even want to get comics from, or something like that.
Well, I think what makes it kind of unique, and Doug and I have talked about this before, is that we're essentially trying to adopt the European model for releases of books, where our audience already knows you're not going to get 12 Common America books a year. You're lucky if you get 2. And that's because of the way that we release them. But that's something that I had learned from living in Europe for a while. I actually liked it because I thought, well, it's easier on the wallet because you're able to kind of keep up with it. And based on the periodicity of it, how often it's going to come out. And you get like a kind of a prestige format thing. We're able to treat the book with a degree of integrity, so it's not quite like just a throwaway type thing. You're actually getting your money's worth from it. So I mean, it's a paradigm that I'm not going to say is going to replace how things are done right now, but I think it's unique in terms of what people have to look forward to.
Yeah, new thinking is really what comics had needed, and again, most of what everyone else's solution was to just revert to earlier eras, and it's like that's not going to work. It's never worked, and
the 90s in particular, where the industry went bankrupt.
Yeah, which for some reason, a lot of the proponents of that whole idea somehow just completely forgot. But yeah, the whole thing, it's interesting because your guys,
it's misplaced nostalgia. It's like having nostalgia for the buggy whip.
Nostalgia.
It's man, I can't wait to do the buggy whip to my business.
Nostalgia is a false
buggy whip.
Yeah,
it's like you got the wrong nostalgia play.
It's the world's best buggy whip, though, and it's like, yeah, it's still a buggy whip. I drive a car now. Who needs it? That's what was that movie, Other People's Money, I think, with Danny DeVito giving that speech about the world's best buggy whip, when the last company to be making buggy whips and that kind of thing. That scene's on YouTube. I think Gregory Peck's in that movie too. It's from the 80s, and it's that scene is really good. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's Other People's Money is what it's called.
He's Larry the Liquidator. I know because I watched the scene several times. He's supposed to be the villain too, but it's like it's pretty convincing.
Well, yeah, sort of like Gordon Gekko. He has the big speech that actually makes a lot of sense. The whole greed is good speech from Wall Street is like, he's the bad guy, but it's why he's getting along. It's why he's able to get through stuff is because he has a point and he's right about something, even if he is the bad guy, and maybe he gets taken down in the end, but still. And that, a lot of that can connect to Glengary, Glen Ross. I think we'll eventually talk about that movie, but
which is other stuff. Tim, where are you at on Glengary, Glen Ross?
I had to watch it in college and I fell asleep, so I don't really
had to watch it.
Tim. You just got put on our list.
That's what when we saw it, first time we saw it, like in the 90s, we rented it at the place and we're like, oh, this movie's great. And we tried to tell our friend about it. And he's like, it looks gay.
It's boring. Nothing even explodes.
We had to watch 3 movies in a row. It was kind of a strange situation. It was because of like snow days. So everything compounded and it was a cinema class. And so the 3 movies we watched in a row, it was like Californication. I think, was it Californication?
Yeah, maybe? That was
or no, wasn't it California with Brad Pitt?
No, it was the one. Crap, I'm sorry, it's the one with Nicolas Cage. Is it Fear and Loathing?
Oh, Nicolas Cage. No, that would be Leaving Las Vegas.
Leaving Las Vegas. We had to watch Leaving Las Vegas, Mulholland Drive, and Glengary, Glen Ross.
Those are all pretty good movies.
But they're all like kind of, honestly, they're like artsy movies. And like I said, I'm really dumb in real life. Like I like very,
I'd have a tough time with Mulholland Drive figuring that one
that
out.
Movie was bizarre.
I only remember
mandatory
happening in that movie.
Having them be mandatory viewing makes it harder to enjoy it. Like it's easier to
Twin
enjoy
Peaks.
when you're just watching it on your own.
You ever try watching Twin Peaks? Like that's another one I couldn't get through after the second episode.
Yeah, I haven't tried.
It's a little bit too cerebral.
I like Twin Peaks just because they were trying to do so much kind of hard-boiled stuff, and it was kind of fun when it would hold together a little bit.
Like a modern noir.
It's not great. It's not great. It's watchable.
Mm-hmm.
Watchable.
Just for what it's trying to do rather than what it actually is.
But Glengary Glen Ross is the tightest male dialogue you'll get outside of Coen Brothers.
And like that first scene with wonderful murderer Alec Baldwin.
He ushered out of the movie very quickly because there was a female coworker he needed to shoot.
Hey, have you guys seen Reacher on Amazon?
Oh no, I've heard that exists. Yeah, I haven't. I saw the first. It's funny. The one guy who we saw, Glengary Glen Ross, and a real life friend was like, "It looks gay," but our internet friend, who was like the biggest anime fan we knew, who actually lives in Japan and speaks Japanese now and all that shit. He was the guy. He told us that he was friends with us because we watched movies like Glengary Glen Ross, and all of his weeb friends had no fucking clue what he was talking about. If he would ever reference the movie or make jokes about the movie, they'd be like, So he would talk to us because we actually saw something other than anime. And that connects directly with what we were just about to.
And you need never watch anime because you could always watch Glengary, Glenn Ross.
Yeah, exactly.
And it would be a better expenditure of time than any anime in the world.
Yeah.
If you've ever heard the Mel Gibson tapes, the voicemails.
Oh yeah, that's wonderful. Now those are fucking classics too, of course. But
and they sound like dialogue from Glengary, Glenn Ross.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they very much do. It's very heated. And like just angry people who are just pissed off at each other for almost
what
no
other
reason.
David Mamet movies did we end up seeing because of Glengary, Glenn Ross?
Spartan, which I didn't even think was that good. I mean, the movies he directed, The Spanish Prisoner was another one.
Was it Staten, Maine? There was another one. Wasn't that the one with Alec Baldwin? He's the actor.
Oh no,
it's Staten, Maine.
Wag the Dog. He also did.
Yeah,
I remember seeing a lot of those, but Glengary, Glenn Ross is like there's nothing better than that one. It's true. There's like no action in it, but
there's something satisfying in actually being able to learn something you didn't know from watching a movie. That's basically how I ended up. That's basically how I was raised. I was raised by American media, cartoons and TV shows, Looney Tunes, and Glengary, Glenn Ross.
But having that point of view, that like in a way, you've seen it, so you now have a new point of view about something, and you can make references. It's just all the like around that time too, or it was a few years later when soundboard prank calls became the big thing. The Al Pacino prank calls, that too. But the ones that were like the Arnold Schwarzenegger prank calls and that kind of stuff, the Al Pacino ones always all had clips from Glengary, Glenn Ross, because his best lines in his entire career are from that movie, and if his just yelling and calling people stupid assholes and what the fuck are you gonna do about it, asshole, and just we used to just quote that to each other, and any internet friends who would even be familiar with it. And again, it was mainly that one guy who was into anime, but like none of his anime friends knew what that was, so
none of them got the joke because they didn't even know how delicious Al Pacino is. He's going like that was when he was ripping into Kevin Spacey, and he's going like, if you don't know the con or you don't know the play, keep your mouth shut. If you don't know the play.
You never open your mouth until you know what the shot is. You fucking child, and just ripping into him. It's like, it's like 5 straight minutes of him just yelling at his boss. Kevin Spacey's his boss, the manager of The Office, but he's just ripping it. And Kevin Spacey knows he fucked up too. Yeah, and it's this great scene.
That's actually one of the things also that I find interesting. People kind of like gloss over. It's just like, oh, he's just an incompetent boss. But it's like the one thing he knows how to do is manage the people who are working under him. He doesn't know the business as much, but he knows how to get what's his face out of there, where he's just like, go to lunch.
Will you go to lunch? But that's the thing. He has that one mistake, but everything else he basically does properly.
Yeah. Well, and Jack Lemmon thinks he could get him, right? Jack Lemmon does the manly, cusses him out at the end. But he makes one mistake.
Yeah, then Jack Lemmon makes the one mistake, and it backfires on him.
It backfires on him. So now Kevin Spacey's back on top, and you realize
he twists the knife. Kevin Spacey really twists the knife when he has him on it too.
And you go, you know what? What they're saying is like Jack Lemmon, like it's time for him to get out of the boiler room. He's got to get out of sales. He wasn't supposed to be in it. Like he was set up to lose.
Yeah, and it was like at the worst time too, because he thought he just nailed this, the best sale that just put him right on. He come in like, put me on the Cadillac board, and
that's actually on the board, guys. Oh man, Jack Lemmon, he's so pathetically awesome in that movie.
You know what's funny is that you're supposed to hate him. And it's like he is sleazy and scummy. And if you look at it that way, it's like, he's a piece of shit the entire movie, really. But it only takes like one line from him to kind of want to be on his side. Yeah. And it's like, it's because he's such a good actor that he would you say
it's mostly from his point of view? Is not the movie mostly him?
At least half of it. You see him going around from failed customer to failed customer.
The story is basically, the
selling their dirt to deadbeats.
selling your dirt to deadbeats. Money in the mattress.
If Vishnu came down from heaven, handed this guy $1 million, told him to sign the deal, he wouldn't sign.
You really got to appreciate that. They shit talk the customers too. It's not like it's like we got to have respect for the customers. It's like, no, these guys don't know what they're doing.
Like Brittany Venti was just laughing at a few specific people, making fun of them for like being like, oh, you're respecting the customers. And it's like, and the funny thing is they completely backed down when she made fun of them for that. That's something else entirely, though. But I thought that was funny seeing her do that and seeing nobody confront her about it.
Well, when you see people only disrespect customers and then turn around and say how much they respect customers, that's when you go, well, you don't really have to say, you don't have to really tell people, you know what, guys? I really respect the customers.
Yeah, it's
that's
really
the guy.
schizo.
That's the last guy in the world, I believe, respects.
Well, the people they don't respect as customers are the ones who don't buy from them. That's who they don't respect. It's not like they're.
But they don't respect the customers
here
that do
at
buy
one point in the movie.
They don't respect any of the customers.
Oh, this guy suckered in. We got him to buy our worthless real estate. You never hear them. That's one of the things also you'll never hear in any
there's a word. What do we call people
movie
who only like and respect people who pay them to like and what do you call those people?
Stupid assholes.
No, you call them whores. So they're going like, we respect the customer and we disrespect everyone else. But literally, you're just saying people can pay for your respect.
Yeah,
that's called being a evil person.
Yeah, buying off your respect. It's like it's for cheap.
And that's the highest moral you guys could come up with is that you love people who pay you money to love them.
Yeah, it is sad. Anyways, this has been on the screen for a long time. I figured it's worth asking.
Real Amazing Adam, we love you.
Yeah, Amazing Adam says to Tim, "Can I get any of your newer books on Antarctic Press?"
I think only Common America Volume 1 is on there. I don't think
just the first one.
There. Yeah, and that's the retail version, so it's missing about 8 pages from it. If you want the full version, just go to Iconic Comics.
Yeah, I was gonna say if basically the best place to go get any of your books is Iconic Comics. I actually put them in the
Comics. They're going to go really far. They're going to go really far. Hey, I need some of Tim's work. What can I get? Well, you can get the first book that's missing us 8 pages. Yeah, that's a real good brand, Iconic. It's like they should have your whole library just on speed.
No, that's Antarctic.
That's on
Antarctic. Iconic. Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I don't know the difference because their names, their brand naming is so bad that they just camouflage with each other. They literally you just put in.
Although Antarctic does put out a lot of books, but a lot of their books are pretty goofy. But I mean, I always think it's a good way. It's a good thing that there are at least a lot of publishers and imprints so that there's some competition. I always thought there should be. Well, one of the things we used to say all the time was there needs to be more competition for fulfillment. And that's actually what Iconic is.
It's essentially, a lot of people think they're a publisher and not technically because what they do is they just act as an imprint and then they do the fulfillment. And it's almost
know the difference just from afar. And that's my own ignorance, but it's also it's really hard to educate the whole world on what you are and what you do these days, because how do you get the word out?
Well, not just that, but it's one of those things where even if people do mistake it as publisher, I mean, it's not bad. It's not necessarily
going to kill anyone. No one's going to jail.
No one's going to jail. And the other thing too is that the only people who really
should go to jail.
Well, the only people that it quote unquote will hurt are the people who are like, I want them as my publisher. Well, it's like that's not really how it works. They're not going to cover your printing costs or anything like that.
Clearly there was some weird idea. People somehow got that idea. Some people got that idea that somehow Iconic would pick up some of the publishing or something. It's like all they really do is just they get the comics and so they mail them out. They put them in the boxes and they put the shipping label on it and that's it.
And that's an important job. You get that wrong and you didn't finish your job.
Yeah, there's almost no competition. It's been a complete monopoly by Diamond for decades now. And Iconic is barely putting a dent into that, but that could change. But even if it doesn't, you don't need it to change at this point because at least it exists. That's all that really matters.
Well, and then the other thing too, probably its primary mission or focus is you have all these people under crowdfunding their books, but some of them don't have the time or the infrastructure to have their own store set up where after the campaign is over, then what do you do because you don't have a place to sell them. But by being under an imprint, they have the warehouse where they can keep it and essentially operate so that all the books that are crowdfunded under their umbrella are in one place and can be sold via them. So that's essentially kind of how they operate. And so people just know, okay, I missed this book. Where can I get it? Well, you go to Iconic. And then while you're there, you can shop for these other books that are also under that same imprint too. So the people who own it, they're happy because it's a side gig for them. I mean, the people who run the company, they have about 8 different small businesses that they operate. So it's like, okay, now we dip our toes into comics too. It's not like this is their bread and butter. It's just for them, it's a hobby. For us, it's a hobby. So
and they got paid for it, so it's not just a hobby too, of course. But
they get paid very well.
They get paid, but it's a tiny margin. In fact, they probably shipping and fulfillment probably gets better margins than I do as a creator.
Yeah, most like I can imagine
because it's a non-negotiable. You can't just say, "Oh, I'm not going to pay that for postage. I'm not going to pay that for boxing or whatever."
Yeah,
and then what am I going to do? Go and ship and box 2,000 comics? And do a good job.
Yeah, that's the thing. Doing that yourself is like one of the most back-breaking, arduous things. But having that delegated off to other people who just do that, it's like they don't have to focus on the other hard stuff. They can just focus on the one thing. It's like, just getting it stamped and then putting it in the mail.
I feel like some kind of pariah if I have to say that. People need to get over print. We need to just move on to digital.
Well, that was another thing that I wanted to bring up about NFTs is that, like you said, Doug was just saying earlier in this wonderful stream that there's no print to it. It's just right there. You pay the money
for
it.
It destroys the environment.
That's
though.
it. Yeah, it's destroying the environment, which that's the only reason why I would buy an NFT is to help destroy the environment.
It's harming the environment.
Yes, inshallah.
Yeah, but that's how I tell leftists. I go, it harms the environment, but that means more Christian evangelicals will be killed, so it's a good thing, right?
Yeah,
and they go, yeah, okay, I think we can take down the environment. Okay,
even Christian non-evangelicals.
Yeah, but they'd be willing to take out even their own mothers as long as it took out some Trump supporters. They tend to be more happy. You can trick them. You can trick them into agreeing with you. They go, okay, yeah, you're right. You just convinced me. Ethereum is good.
Well, yeah, like speaking of inshallah, though, President, who's the governor of Florida, though?
President DeSantis.
The president of Florida. DeSantis.
I almost said de Blasio, but yeah, DeSantis for president 2022 or something. I don't know, whatever.
I don't know if he's going to run. The Floridians love him too much.
He should run, though. I mean, because
he should, but
I definitely
he's going to do it
early.
Tim doesn't care how much people love him as governor when there's the presidency. He's going, look, they can still love me as president. State. It's not like one negates the other. Don't be, I want to serve the people of Florida.
He can serve be the governor world. Of the whole country. He can be governor of every state.
The president of America is the president of the world.
I don't know if he's going to run in 2022. 2024, yes, I definitely think he will.
Yeah, maybe not this year, I guess.
Yeah, I'm saying he has to win 22, and then he'll
not 22. I'm sorry, I don't think he's going to run in 24. I think he's going to run 4 years from then, 28. Sorry,
he wants to stay out of the way of Trump running again or something.
No, it's got to be DeSantis. He has to do it. He has to call out Trump, and he has to call him out on
not doing anything.
The vax.
Well, and that too, but the whole that's right. DeSantis actually did something about that where Trump was just pushing for it the whole time.
So I'm saying he has to differentiate himself. He can't go in and play nice. He can't play dirty either, but he's got to go in and say, look, one thing I would never do and did not do is hire Fauci. And what can Trump say to that?
There is a thing about, so if you want to look at the political savvy of DeSantis, this cracked me up. So there's a law in Florida that basically prevents any tech company from basically deplatforming people in the state.
So
the moment you start going after Floridians, basically their attorney general is going to start looking into you. And this was passed last year. Now, the bill itself has a clause that is hysterical because it says that it's an exemption clause that says this bill does not apply to any business that owns a media company or a theme park in the state of Florida.
Yeah.
And they put that in there because it basically takes out Universal and Disney. And I thought that was funny because it was like, this guy is politically savvy enough that he's able to have his cake and eat it too, because he exonerates 2 companies specifically because they do business in Florida. So he's actually helping the Floridians while also exempting these tech companies. So it shows that there's a lot of political savvy and maneuvering.
Oh, he's still
he's kind of buying favor in a way too, which is shrewd, certainly, which is kind of a good thing. I mean, you want that in a president to have some business sense or like some awareness of that.
Yeah, and you have to. And one thing about him is that he is more politician than entrepreneur, as opposed to like Donald Trump. But you do need, in hindsight, you do need a little bit of that, because you need to know how the game is played. If you look at Trump's playbook, one of the things that, I mean, it was a huge misstep, was in the world of business, he liked surrounding himself with people from various opinions. So when I remember when
dissenters,
he got John Bolton, everyone was like, why? And behind the scenes, like, I like getting a lot of opinions. I even get people who disagree with me.
I like
and it's
getting
like
Fauci.
Yeah, but
he
it's
ends
like
up putting in Fauci, and then he ends up putting in Scaramucci, like all these guys he surrounds with. He's not real discriminate in his picks,
right? And in the world,
he's running it like one of his businesses instead of the actual country.
In politics, they all want to basically stab each other in the back, and so you have to really surround yourself with pure loyalists, even though that creates somewhat of an echo chamber for yourself. That's just how the game is played. And I can tell that Ron DeSantis, he's more savvy, and he just knows, having I think been on Capitol Hill before being governor, he just knows, okay, I've seen how this works. I know how the Washington establishment operates. I feel like I can maneuver this pretty well, and he's done a pretty good job. Did you I'm hanging out with Robert next weekend, Doug.
Oh, cool. Yeah. So he came here, he stopped by my place yesterday on the way out to you.
Oh, yeah, the API guy you were mentioning.
Yeah.
He looks like Bob Hoskins.
Yeah. And a little bit of like Jason Alexander in there too. There's a little bit of, he's that guy.
He looks like
it was so funny because yesterday he goes, Doug, come on, let's go. We're going to do push-ups right now. I go, what? He goes, in my kitchen. He just goes down and starts doing push-ups. I go, all right, here we go. And I started doing push-ups. And I did, he did 30. 30 push-ups.
Jason Alexander doing 30 push-ups would be impressive.
25. I couldn't even do the last 5.
Hey,
and then right before we left, he gave me a big hug and he goes, okay, let's do some more push-ups real quick.
Let's do push-ups, Doug. You and me right here, right now, brother.
Yeah, he's so funny. He is like a totally funny TV character actor, and I just love him.
I can really imagine. When you said Bob Hoskins and Jason Alexander, it's like, oh, so Bob Hoskins then.
Just he might tell you the story someday, but basically, I've never been so mad at an individual until last month. I got really mad at him, and we laugh about it now. We'll laugh about it now, but at the time it was very serious. So I'll let him tell you that story if he wants to.
Okay. He might have already told me. I don't remember anything like that, that sticks in my head. But he might have said like, "What's wrong with Tim Lemmon?" And every once in a while we'll have conversations about, because he's also working with Mike Miller, Billy Tucci, Doug Ernst, all these guys I hear, Alejandro, let's hear stories here and there and not really fully, because I'm so cut off from everyone's business now, from everyone's story, their own personal life story, that sometimes I'll catch glimpses of what's going on through Robert,
Yeah, he doesn't really talk about the other guys too much. That's for sure. And that, I think that's good, because sometimes Doug Ernst will tell me, like, oh, we have an issue with this printing thing. And I was like, wait a minute, I talked to Robert this morning. He didn't mention it. He's like, what? He didn't mention it? And I'm like, nah, because I think for Robert, it's like, well, it's not Tim's business, because it's not your book.
Oh yeah, no, he's not a gossip. Like he's not going to do that. But
he's not a live streamer.
And in other words, he's not a YouTuber.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing, is that, once that, because there, just a couple of years ago, there was even us, we would, at least have our circle of us streaming every once in a while, and we would be talking and we would tell each other whatever was going on. All that's pretty much gone now. I mean, the other people are streaming, but they don't really have anything to say. Whereas all of us are just kind of getting down to work or finding something else to do.
Life is too short.
Yeah.
And is the business of crowdfunding still taking off and robust and growing? Is it growing, or is it just doing a lateral move? Because my big problem right now is with printing and fulfillment is the cost and how slow it would be. And then also the profitability of NFTs while it's in it. That's what I'm going to do.
Yeah, but, I mean, NFTs, the profit for NFTs is so much bigger than the even good crowdfunding. But I mean, that's one of the things. I don't know if you can really even go by Tim and Mark's crowdfunding because they've been blowing up, whereas everyone else is kind of shrinking.
Right. Yeah, but then again, I mean, just looking at crowdfunding, like our big thing is we look at Doug and Brian Polito as far as benchmarks, because we look at
Brian Polito did it first for like 10, 20 years first.
Well, the thing that we're concerned about is that even Brian Polito, he eventually, after a decade, he's hit a plateau where he hasn't grown past a certain point. And it's because the marketplace for Kickstarter is naturally limited, and then you have the shrinking comic book market too. So readers are just dipping out and going to other things, you know.
Well, and with Polito, he is tight with that one brand of characters, so it's not going to get beyond that.
And that's fine for him. He's happy. He's satisfied being there. Whereas us, I mean, we want to keep on growing, and that's not necessarily because of ambition. We just think that the potential is there, and so that's the thing that we're monitoring right now.
Yeah. Well, there's a bigger market out there for Common America. It's just a bigger, it's more common. Of a market to hit, so that
it does have not just a broad appeal, but it has and mass appeal, but it has just straightforward, like wholesome and general appeal. There's the cheesecake appeal. There's a lot of different appeals, and so all you need is you can have 10 of them at the same time, and all you need is one person likes one of those appeals, they'll buy your comic. So when you're appealing to more people overall, where the whole Lady Death stuff kind of appeals to maybe 2 or 3 things at once, where Common America might appeal to 5 or 10.
Well, it's literally a 90s nostalgia play.
Yeah.
That whole genre is that, and then Common America is more the modern anime play.
Yeah.
And the modern anime play, there ain't nothing bigger in comics.
Yeah, it's huge. And I mean, because that's the thing, you notice a lot of other people have been realizing what we said first about about manga outselling American comics. We did videos about that like 2017, 2018. And now you see everyone else saying that. And it's like, yeah, it's been obvious for that long. And people are still only just now catching on to that.
Yeah.
The market's gigantic.
With the numbers, it was 12 years ago when Scholastic told me those numbers. So it's been 12 years that manga has completely dominated, and that's why Scholastic started doing. In fact, it's why Scholastic got into graphic novels with Bone. They were a publishing company and looking at what graphic novels were doing, and they saw anime, and they go, "We really need to expand into graphic novels." Number one, but number two, anything anime would be great. They just
or something that looks cute enough, at least. Yeah. Which there's a lot of American artists who can do that, or have a really appealing style that sort of get underappreciated to some extent. But a lot of that's blowing up too. So yeah, with Common America though, every campaign has almost doubled what the last one made. Usually, I mean, the current campaign for 5 is like 2,500 backers and growing, or it's past that, isn't it?
We're past 26, and so we're trying to make it past 34 because that's how much it was last time. Now, I don't know if we will or not, because it's a blessing and a curse, because we offered an omnibus, and we took an internal poll from people who bought it last time, and we asked them if they were going to come back for the 5th volume. And a lot of them said they would not because they don't want it, but because now that we've played our hand and have shown people that we have an omnibus, they're waiting for the second omnibus to come out.
Yeah, that was one thing about the main comics industry, the American industry, is a lot of people said that we just wait for trade paperbacks.
Right, and so that's one of those things where there's a part of me that does lose a little bit of sleep at night, because it's like, well, it's good for now, because don't get me wrong, like our margins they're pretty good for 2 guys, because essentially the only overhead that we have is each other, because there's only 2 people working on it. But on the other hand, it's like, if the majority mindset was, we're just going to wait till the omnibus, then it's like, then we can't really pass these savings on to the customer, because the only reason why we're getting good pricing on the hardcovers is because after negotiating, it's like, look, this is how many books we're expecting to sell during the year. In the long run, if you give us this price, you're going to make more money at the end of the year, as opposed to the price that you want to give us for the price of the hardcovers.
Right.
So if on volume 6, if we only have 800 people come by and they're like, yeah, because the rest of the 2,000 want to wait for the omnibus, like we're gonna have to increase our prices because, or just not offer omnibuses anymore because it doesn't justify it. So there's a lot of the business side is stressful, but I'm glad that, like, for example, the people who run Iconic, they're entrepreneurs. Like I said, they own 8 businesses, so we talk about numbers all the time. Everything we do is a calculated risk. I'll tell you, one of the ones right now is like, people were wondering, like, why did you offer international shipping to 4 English-speaking countries and 1 Japanese-speaking country? And it's like, I just thought that was just common sense, but it's like, it's the Japanese. Besides the French, they're the biggest reader of printed and digital media out there. Why wouldn't you want to market to them? And the thing that really made me happy is now we have a Japanese customer base. They're our second largest one. And so they create the fan art, they share it with people. There's like fan translations of it out there. And again, that's like calculated, but I've had some people reach out and they're like, that's so genius. And it's like, not really. Like, it's just, I don't know.
Yeah, a lot of that's really is just common sense.
Yeah, but, and then like you guys have been saying, like you and I have talked about it before about like the manga market. You guys have been saying for years, like these guys are going to eat your lunch if you don't learn, because one thing that Japanese have culturally always been good at is adaptation, and they've done it since they were the latecomers to the Industrial Revolution, and then within like less than 2 generations, they basically like outperformed us industrially in terms of what they were able to reverse engineer. Yeah. But they do that with everything, and they do that with comics now too, because I don't like manga and I don't like anime, or I didn't. In the 90s, I was the guy who was like, oh my gosh, I don't like this stuff. But the reason why that's like pretty much the only printed thing I read now is because they kind of adapted our way of storytelling. Yeah. And they were like,
yeah, there's a huge Western influence on a lot
that was the thing that bothered me was there wasn't enough Western influence. So
for a while,
Akira Kurosawa did it with film. So they're not good at creating, they're good at editing. Correct. So they take another idea, they can edit it and make it 10 times better.
Yeah, and altering it and sort of contorting it and twisting it into a new, like Dark Souls is really just a Western RPG, and it's like all the armor and the swords and stuff are all like European, but it's that Japanese kind of gameplay that's intricate, where each sword has its own unique moves and the speed and that kind of stuff, and it's got a unique system to it that takes something that we're familiar with and then turns it into a new thing.
I do wonder if America taught them that, where some American author would just borrow stuff from like Buddhism, and it's like,
there seems to be an element of that,
like, I don't know,
of taking from around the world and combining it into mixing it into a new thing. Like, because that was one of the sort of considered the diversity strengths of Europe, was the diversity of Europe itself originally, not modern Europe, but
also whitewashing or whatever it is, cultural appropriation.
Yeah, cultural appropriation was a big cool thing a long time ago, because France, Germany, England were these different cultures, but were like right next to each other, so they could have these weird mixings.
Cultural appropriation is good.
Yes, it is good.
Italy too. In Italy, and then the Eastern Bloc, and then Russia is right there, and then
they stole our plumbers.
And the
Nintendo,
and Europe's the place with the instant hot water too. That's another thing that Europe is mixing up with it. It's weird ideas and all that crap, but yeah,
indoor
maybe
plumbing. What
Japan
is
learned
this?
from
Don't
that.
appropriate my culture.
Maybe that's maybe Japan saw that, and because you've seen like that whole trend in a lot of anime where the characters would be named after Italian people or German people. They would have these weird European names all the time for a long time.
Just pull them straight out of Dickens or something as
exactly
as a motif.
I'll tell you,
and they were video games I'm trying to think of too. ActRaiser is like a very Western style soundtrack.
And that goes back to like the early ActRaiser is from the early 90s for the Super Nintendo.
The funny thing is that last Christmas I had some friends asking, they're like, well, what books should I give to my niece or nephew? for Christmas. And what I recommended to them was, I said, you should read the manga adaptations of Western stories. Like, for example, Great Expectations, Les Miserables, Frankenstein, Dracula, whatever. The funny thing is that those manga adaptations are better than the graphic novel adaptations made by Americans. Because they just took the storytelling and they said, you know what, we can decompress this, because essentially we are not limited.
Yeah, they'll edit it. They have better editing because they understand. It's like, okay, what do we want to see in the ultimate version of Dracula? But also at the same time, it's like they probably understand the story better, as opposed to someone from America is just going to see the legend, whereas someone from Japan is going to be like, oh, look at this weird foreign thing.
Yeah, the American writers and creators, they're going to do the adaptation going, well, I never read any of the originals of classic literature, so I guess I'll just make up my own and throw some woke crap in there.
Well, either that, or what they do is they basically just copy and paste the actual prose, which in a way is almost worse, because
they have too much respect for it, where it's like such reverence that they're afraid to even change a little tiny thing that they sometimes need to. Maybe
one reference.
Well, and the sad thing is you can do it. I mean, one of the things I got from my father was I got his Classics Illustrated collection. So these are the comics that he grew up with as a kid, and they're all the same adaptations, like Moby Dick, Fall of the House of Usher.
Oh, I love the art in those. I saw those when I was in high school.
Oh, they're fantastic, and they were all printed on cardstock, so the paper quality is good. You can go to a comic store and get them for 50 cents now, but they're great, and they're painted. They're fully painted. Most of them are. So it's not to say that it can't be done, or that the Japanese inherently will do it better. It's just that you can see night and day how the Japanese have essentially taken something that we used to do fairly well and adapted. I was having this stream with a few months ago where it was basically talking about what we can learn from manga without necessarily becoming mangaka ourselves. And there was a guy, and he kept on arguing with me in the chat, and he's like, we don't need to learn anything from them, we just need to make better comics. And I'm like, you're so dense. Like, what I'm saying is, get rid of in your mind, just get rid of
better comics is the dumbest ever.
Just think of it just in terms of rules of thumb, principles, and just like,
I mean, it should be even more fundamental than that. It's, what do you want that you like? What do you like? What do you want to make? It should always come down to that. If you're making something you don't like, why are you making it?
Well, the only problem is some people like really stupid shit, and they want to make something really stupid.
That is true.
Yeah. But not the first time stupid stuff was huge either. So it's like, it's okay.
I'm guilty.
It's no skin off my back, but I'm not going to spend my time doing stuff I don't want to do.
The music industry is kind of the music, like some people say, forever, but especially lately, music is kind of like that, where the dumbest shit ever is the most popular, but the really inventive, creative, weird stuff is basically just, they can only give it away for free on the internet. You'll find it on YouTube, where people do weird mashups of Smash Mouth doing Pearl Jam songs,
or what was it, the Bees.
It's Hip to Fuck Bees by Huey Lewis and the News. It's a great song, but you can't sell that because it's just a Huey Lewis song.
Or rather, what's the mashup with Enter Sandman? And,
it was Enter Sandman to Hip to Be Square. And again, you can't sell that because that's just two different bands having the lyrics from one song combined with the music to another song.
To be fair, I like Nick Mullen's cover of Smash Mouth songs.
I was just listening to that today too.
I let Martin listen to it. He hadn't heard it before.
Wasn't it the Indian Smash Mouth?
That was one of them.
That was I love whenever they do songs on Comtown. That's another thing that we did do a stream mention. We were on your channel. We were on Bunderdome.
Oh, that was the last time. Unfortunately, that was the time when Norm Macdonald passed away.
Yeah, that's right. That the last time we streamed together was when Norm Macdonald died. Yeah,
that was back in October, I think.
October or November or something. Yeah. Which again, that feels like 5 years ago, but it also is like, Norm Macdonald's dead? I didn't even know he was sick, but surely enough.
I have a playlist, and it's about 50 hours of Norm Macdonald.
Oh man, I listen to him and I just crack up. Yeah, now, he's the kind of guy that would fake his own death so you'd think he was dead, and then he'd go murder Bob Saget, his best friend.
No.
We just do something bizarre like
that's my theory.
And that would be the gag, and it would be really funny.
But he's too nice to actually do that.
Yeah, it's true. But he would want me to say that, is what I'm saying.
He would laugh at that. Yeah, if he heard you say that, he would laugh.
Yeah.
I didn't know that
he likes that.
I didn't know that he was the sometimes he filled in for Dennis Miller.
Oh yeah, really... I've heard I heard Norm Macdonald interview Ann Coulter on
yes,
the Dennis Miller
it was a really good interview, and he was on Bill O'Reilly's show too.
Yeah, he was on Dennis Miller Live. I remember I still
several times. Yeah, the old HBO show Dennis Miller Live, which was fantastic, by the way. And there are still clips of that because that's so old now that nobody cares about copyright claiming or striking that. But yeah, Norm Macdonald on Dennis Miller Live from the old HBO
was
show.
Really funny.
Yeah, it was valuable.
Well, he was on his podcast too, late 90s, early 2000s. He'd have Norm Macdonald.
Yeah, the radio show and the podcast.
It was just always amazing. Yeah.
Because they just appreciated each other. They just liked it. Dennis Miller legitimately understood that Norm was just naturally fun. And that one thing from one of the things, every time I see like a chicken, a full whole chicken, I think of Norm on Dennis Miller, and Norm's talking about his son.
Yeah.
And they go to some chicken place and there's a fat lady in front and his son says, "Look how fat she is." And then she gets, up to the counter and she's like, "1 piece of chicken, please." And Norm says, "But she was going to order like 10 full whole chickens." And it's like that ruined chicken for me now in a way that I love. And that's all thanks to Norm.
He was so naturally funny that his insights, a lot of them, it wasn't the punchline. It was the fact that the insight into the mundane was so simple that it's like, how come like we didn't see it that way? I was playing this clip for my wife where he was talking about retarded people, and it had dovetailed from that whole debacle with him and teachers. Like he was like, teachers aren't the real heroes. Like, what are you talking about?
that was so good.
And then the teacher like called him a retard, and he was like, "Retard? Is that language for a teacher to use?"
Yeah, so exactly.
He was talking about how he had a roommate who had Down syndrome or something, and he was like, "Man, the other day I woke up, I looked in the mirror, turned on the light, and there I was, like I hadn't shaved in days, and I was just contemplating the existential nihilism of my life. Like, my gosh, like what is my life coming to? What is the meaning of it all? Like, what am I going to do with myself in the waning twilight of my years?" And then my roommate comes in, he's like, "I like bananas." And I'm like, "I like bananas too. Let's go get bananas." And that was it. Like, that was essentially the punchline. And it was just so well executed, just his pattern and the way he talked about it, because you just could see the image in your head. And he was right. It's like, you say this like it's a bad thing. Like, this guy's happier than me because of his simplicity. And in the end, like, he's excited about bananas. Isn't that like a good thing?
Well, and you like making your skin crawl talking about someone with Down syndrome. He liked breaking furniture. He had like this razor sharp, fast wit that as soon as he knew where you were uncomfortable, he'd go in and start cracking a few jokes. And always with a smile, so it looked like he wasn't being mean.
Well, that was also,
really, he was making your skin crawl.
Joe Bob Briggs, who said that comedy is essentially like a machine gun, where you turn it 2 degrees, fire once, turn it another 2 degrees, fire once. You keep doing that until you hear a scream, and then when you hear the scream, you fire 100 more times.
Yeah, you aim for the scream and hold down the trigger. That's that's what how he put it, and it's like. That's a great way of putting it. And
you can see it in terms of the hecklers too. If you just type in like Norm Macdonald hecklers, it's just a compilation of all the times he's done live stand-up and just put down people who were heckling him because he was just so naturally good at it.
Yeah. And you would think it would be like trying to heckle a brick wall too, in a way. It's
and
like,
when he's on his own show and
he's
writing those jokes, he's always writing those super inappropriate jokes, and he has his guests read them. He's pretending like someone else wrote them.
Yeah, it's like I don't know.
You're gonna get in trouble again.
So somebody wrote these. Oh yeah, that's right. The one and that's, you have to give huge credit to Gilbert Gottfried, who came on, took one of the postcards and said, "What was the
9/11?"
Yeah, it was a joke about 9/11, but it was like, oh, I'm old enough to remember when the worst thing you'd hear about on the news is hijacked jetliners flying into buildings. And he starts laughing, and Norm goes, Anna Gilbert, you're going to get in trouble again.
Yeah.
Just knowing they both knew what they were doing, and that was the point. Whereas
that's the joke, and
some
also
other
this is
comedians
kind of what we're
don't do
losing. Modern comedy, and it was Nick Mullen who actually basically just outright stated modern comedy's dead because they can't do stuff like this.
Mm-hmm.
No, he did. He said it in response to his Simpsons bit because his
I was going to say that was about the Simpsons.
Yeah, because his Homer Simpson impersonation is so good, but the humor is just crude. Like it's just him impersonating Homer Simpson while saying crude things.
Shut up, Marge. Marge, you have a dog brain.
And in
Marge,
response
you have
to
no principles.
In response to Stavros, he was
we
like,
need to vote for Joseph Biden.
He was like, if Simpsons was just legitimately good, none of this stuff that we're doing would be funny.
Yeah, Cumtown couldn't be a podcast.
That's one of the
if
things.
The Simpsons were still good.
That's one of the things that I basically said, I didn't even know any of this, but I thought it myself. And that is like in 100 years, Cumtown will be considered unfunny. It's like all they're doing is saying, like, what if so-and-so was gay? And then
a retard
ending.
What if a retard was gay? Is the culmination
what if
of
a
every
retard was
joke.
gay? And then stealth attempts to insinuate at the N-word. And in 100 years, I'd like to think the culture would have at least grown or expanded enough to the point where this is not funny.
No, it'll be wiped off the face of the earth if it's funny. They have to exact it out of history, wipe it out, recast it as evil until there's no humor and no laughter in the future is their dream world.
But that's where the most humor, that's when things are going to get made fun of the most.
Yeah,
it's
if anything,
not going to be funny to anyone in the future because it's like, why is this fun? What if a retard was gay? And how is this funny?
It will be Idiocracy, where the best picture of the year is ass, and that's all it was for 90 minutes. It won 11 Oscars, including best screenplay.
Well, I got to go to dinner, guys.
We were going to talk about a movie or something.
We did Glengary, Glen Ross already.
This is awesome.
Under Siege.
Oh, Under Siege. You know what? Not only is that a good movie, Under Siege 2 is actually kind of underrated.
Territory.
I only remember one scene in Under Siege, and we all know what it is. When that janitor guy is like, he's like changing out. He's changing the items from one. He's pouring the nails into the bucket. That's the only scene.
The most famous microwaves a bomb or something.
The most funny.
It's where he's putting together a bomb with kitchen ingredients and then throws in the microwave.
Yeah, that's the only scene anyone ever remembers is that time when he's walking, when Tommy Lee Jones is walking up the stairs.
That fight with Tommy Lee Jones was awesome.
It was the lady in the cake because I think.
Wait a minute!
That's what my brother.
Wait, there's a lady in the cake?
Because it was the first
lady in a cake.
I didn't remember that.
Yeah, like Miss January or something.
No, that scene has the worst excuse to show a topless woman ever. What stripper jumps out of
she was asleep, wakes up and just jumps out of the
cake. She jumps right out and just takes her clothes off without opening her eyes and realize there's no one in the room.
Yeah, no one's in the room except one guy with a gun and balding with a gun. It's just like
all right, I'm gonna jump. God bless you guys. I'll see you guys later.
Okay, see ya.
I did actually want to. One thing I wanted to bring up from the movie, from Glengary, Glen Ross, was just the fact that you can watch it and learn. You can learn two things. One is what leads are, and the other is apparently they could just call your bank and know your credit history, or they can know everything about your financial status by just calling the bank. And it's how is this allowed?
Anyways, I wanted to play a clip while Doug was on, but we were talking about so many things. It was so good, but I figured Tim might want to bow out while we play this because it's somebody talking. Yeah, we'll see you later, and we're gonna most likely do a stream with Tim and Mark sometime.
Yeah. I'll since so I'm gonna. I haven't taken a vacation in a year, so actually we're gonna take a vacation starting next week. But when we get back, I'll have.
You're going to Florida?
Yeah, we're doing I can't say where, but we're doing a convention in Florida next Saturday, and then we're gonna just take a week off after that and just stay there, and then I'll be back, and then work on the webcomic. We're gonna start Common America 6. I want it so that by the time the fall comes around, I literally want to be done by like next year's stuff too. Like be so way ahead of schedule. It's
that would be cool.
Don't have to worry about it. Well, that frees me up so I can work on other projects. So like if you guys
you're
need
going to be drawing literally 3.
No. Yeah, that's what I mean. I was going to be like, if you guys need like a Laylee pinup or a cover or something like
that would be awesome. I would absolutely be up for that,
because there's some people who have asked me for years, like, can you work on something? It's an honest answer. It's like, I literally can't. My schedule is boom, 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 boom every single day. It has to be like something. But I was like,
well, you're constantly working on Common America, and Common America is blowing up so much more that there's no reason to work on anything else now.
Yeah, I had some health problems too. I had a surgical procedure yesterday. It was negative, thank goodness, but that basically cleared me. Where I'm like, okay, so
kind of biopsy
working. It's something like that. It was something. It was kind of a scary moment for a while, but it cleared. But I looked at my schedule and I'm like, okay, so my pacing is really good. I finished the summer book, so I'm more than like 5 months ahead of schedule right now. And if I can knock this out by April, then I'm really good as far as like next year is concerned. That frees me up where I can work on individual, like small illustrations and stuff. And that'll be a lot of fun. I noticed that you guys, you have a new webcomic, right? It's one about the werewolf.
Oh yeah, it's kind of a little thing because I basically only had 2 episodes of it, and then I was like, before I even upload this, I want to draw a couple myself. So I drew a couple. That was one of my New Year's resolutions, was let me draw at least a couple pages of this myself. So I did, and I think that actually went up.
So you drew some of the ones that are posted?
The last one, I think, and
it's good.
Forgot to post about it. Where is it? Dashboard Webtoon.
Yeah, that's the thing, is my brother actually has at least some experience drawing.
Well, sort of. Tomahawk Angel updated. Oh shit.
Oh, great.
I was going to say, one,
for the longest time, literally had an update newer than Tomahawk Angel. But here, Dashboard, I can't help that I'm the world's cutest werewolf. Yeah, the latest episode went up on the 15th, last Tuesday, and I forgot to update it because so much other shit has been happening. We've actually been growing our channel in a way.
I was hoping to mention this to Doug so that maybe he could help. Maybe he could see it.
Well, there's another thing is that I need a new artist for literally 2. I've gone through like 2 now that can't finish the comic. I actually DM'd Scott Malin to see.
Oh, he ain't gonna work on it. That boy's busy.
Yeah, I figured he would be busy, but it's like I got to basically ask everyone I possibly can now, and I don't have a list. I don't know anyone to ask.
They're all busy, man.
I had an organization where we could like combine forces and find artists to pair them up with writers.
It's hard. There's
it's hard to find the right artist too, because it has to be somebody who can actually work with us. And to be honest, I think that excludes a lot of randos.
And the thing is, it's not even the money. So this happened yesterday. So Mark and I, our mutual friend, he used to be our agent, and then he went off and did his own thing, but we're still friends. And he contacted me. He's like, dude, I have some really good news for you guys. I said, oh, what? He said, you know that comic I've been wanting to work on, the one that Mark did the script for? I said, yeah. He said, well, I got the money in because he had a relative who passed away, and the will cleared, and they settled all the legal stuff, and so he got his cut as far as like what he was owned as his inheritance. And I'll just make up a number. It's like $20,000, and he's like, $20,000. I got it. It's ready. Give me an artist. And I go, good luck with that, because every artist I know is not taking work. They're all booked up. And he's like, what? Really? I was like, literally every single one.
I wish Alejandro Mirabel would be an artist. It's like, oh, I know I have a script finished. It's like, oh, he would be good for that. But he probably, first of all, he's doing NFTs. In fact,
and he just got a job working for a video game company in Dallas.
Yeah, see, that's always going to pay more too. That's always a big fucking job. That's always like the ideal job for a
big industry
artist. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's the fucking multi-billion, almost $1 trillion industry. But yeah, one of the things is, his NFT thing is that he just took panels from Long Harbor and sold them as NFTs. It's like, that's a good idea, at least.
I tried to get in it, and the funny thing about it is that
it's confusing.
No, what it really boils down to is I don't quite I don't understand the appeal of it. And I'm one of those people where if I don't understand it, it becomes really hard for me to invest in it in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah,
because,
I can't exactly pretend to be interested in something that I wouldn't actually get for myself.
So last week, it was actually 2 weekends ago, DeviantArt alerted me because they have an algorithm that goes out and it tries to find people who sell your art as NFTs.
Oh, yeah.
And there were like these Indian guys they were selling my art that I posted on DeviantArt as NFTs, and some of them had sold. And I thought to myself, I was like, wait a minute. So I'm really confused, because it's one thing if I put something out there and I'm like, I'm selling this for like, I don't know, 0.01 ETH. And it's like the original Photoshop file. So when you get it, like, you have the raw file, it leaves my computer. I don't own it anymore. It's off into wherever it goes, into the blockchain, and then they have it. But I keep on monitoring these jokes where people are like, why not right click, save as? And so far I'm like, I don't understand like how that's not funny, because it's kind of true. These people took my art from DeviantArt, slapped it onto OpenSea, sold it, and basically I just told them, hey, knock it off. And then
it's like they already made the money from it. And that's the thing, like even a Capsule Machine, which is, an NFT project, it's out there. They got a bunch of really cool NFTs from really cool artists, but even they are like, making jokes about right-clicking their NFTs and stuff. Because to them, it's not about whether you can do that. It's whether you just buy the NFT or not.
Yeah, and the way I've heard it is, it's like, think of it as you're buying a certificate of authenticity is essentially what you're doing. And I'm like, okay, can kind of see it that way. But just from my perspective, like, I would never do that. But then again, like, I don't collect stuff either. So I'm like, if, that makes you happy, knock yourself out. I'm not going to say anything, as long as, you know what you're doing.
I mean, if you can make money from, that's the thing, is like the Sam Hyde approach to it is like, if you can make money from it, just go for it.
Yeah.
As long as it's something that you're going to go for, if you want to, whatever.
As long as you know what you're doing, and as long as the people buying stuff from you know what they're getting into, then it's fine. I think, that's a normal transaction. It's all above board as far as I'm concerned. Anyway, guys, I'm gonna head out and let you play your clip, and we'll reconvene at some point in the near future.
Yeah, all right. We're gonna play a couple things. Thanks for being on with us. Thanks to Doug for being on with us, and
absolutely later.
We'll try to be on with other people again at some point. So yeah, see ya. Here, I wanted to play this for Doug because, and he doesn't have to be on for it, I guess, but I wanted to play this because it was in relation to the whole respecting the customer thing. And this will tie into a video that I think will be on our Subscribe Star. So that link below that goes to our Subscribe Star, or the card link in the description that also goes to our Subscribe Star, you can check out like a lot of videos that are, just behind the paywall, that have all sorts of extra nice content. But here I put some of these clips together because somebody showed me these, and I think it's very interesting regarding the customer respect question, or CRQ, I guess. But here, I'll play this because it's it's just playing.
Is Ethan drawing again? Nope. Laughing at the quartering for pointless drama, which he says he's not getting involved in. Ethan, you could be giving me my fucking comic book I bought from you. Yellow Flash, just fuck off. And Jeremy's just turning into mundane Max, so who gives a shit? 78 days, and there will be no, he's just taking his time or whatnot, he's assuming something. Nope. 78 days, you won't be able to explain away. In 78 days, Ethan and Skyver will be Zoe Quinn and Anita Sarkeesian. And there's not a goddamn thing you can say about it.
I just like that.
Is Anita Sarkeesian.
Yeah, already has been, of course.
He already is Zoe Quinn.
Yeah.
But way more prolific.
It's kind of, in a way, it's this guy is realizing it's the adventures of the guy who started paying attention. And, the guy seems a little, I don't know, sparked, I guess. I don't know. But still, I did kind of like that video, I guess.
I mean, I can't disagree with anything he's saying.
My point is that he's one of the Comicsgate customers. if this is what Comicsgate's customers thinks of their own books and their own e-celebs, it really is over. The whole thing is just imploded now. It really is just in the free fall, about to hit bottom.
The truth is that it's been like that for a while. It's not that it's going, it's that
it's been getting worse.
Happened.
Yeah, it's already happened. It's getting worse, and that's a sign of it. And I think that's a good example of it. So yeah, we're going to do a video about that guy. Well, that clip. We'll probably just use that clip to front load a video that we're going to talk about going through a bunch of comments on the Cyberfrog campaign and some of the other campaigns, like some of Richard's campaigns. A lot of trouble in paradise. A lot of the ship is continuing to sink even more. That'll be a video that
sink. How can it sink below the surface of the ocean?
Some more. But that'll be a video that's going to be on our Subscribe Star. Again, we used to just have all these public, but the thing is that putting them on our Subscribe Star, we make money. We actually get support.
Well, the key thing for me is I make all this free. I don't care about this. I don't care about making videos, but people will report our channel, which just means that it's more valuable. If you're so angry at our videos that you feel the need to silence us, that means we're more valuable.
Yeah, and another thing, we did prove recently also that Ethan Van Sciver is subscribed to our channel. So what is he checking out that everyone else is missing? Only way to find out is to get them in the pig paywall.
I wanted to mention that I'm working. We got a comic. I have a comic myself. Mm-hmm. It's on the way, of course.
Yeah, I'm trying to get some of my stuff made, but yeah, you are working with an artist on one of your comics that's to come out eventually.
And I was like, we're going to have this come out before Cyberfrog. It was started. The work was started after Cyberfrog 2 was announced and had its campaign. And it's going to still come out before then.
Yours was started after Cyberfrog 2 was already late. So, yeah.
Yes.
Anyways, but Literally One still available also. The thing is that it took me a while to really make a good trailer because the only that earlier one just had the blurb from Tim Lim. And it's like, didn't Doug say something about it at some point when we were on with him, when we used to be on stream?
I'm sure he likes it. Did you ever put in a blurb from Vicky?
No, I didn't. But the thing is that Vicky's not a creator. I wanted to put in blurbs from creators and stuff. And so that's where the new trailer comes from, which has been on the channel for a couple days now. But yeah, the new episode of I Can't Help Them, The World's Cutest Werewolf. I do plan to put Villains of the Snow Sea 2 on Webtoon and Tapas at some point. It'll be a censored version, of course, because there's all sorts of titties in it. But the uncensored versions of those are still available on Kindle and Comixology, and also in the print edition because of Amazon's print on demand thing. So our stuff is out there and available, and good stuff. Yeah, Vicky showed up and she says, "No, I'm a lonely peon."
She just makes YouTube videos.
Just mere YouTube video. Ugh. But anyways, I figure we'll wrap up on this. Another great episode. Our streams usually are the best, of course.
Better than all the rest. Better than anyone. Should we go over comments?
Well, yeah. I've been showing them for the most part. Generally,
we can actually respond to some of them.
Alfonso Prouty mentions give him his comic tick tick tick. That's a reference to that one guy who
tick tick.
Because that was another clip which I didn't include, but he says, the comic's about to be late. Tick tick tick, and you just imagine Ethan is fucking probably enraged just seeing that guy and just furious.
He's enraged, but it's also his own fault.
By the way, I just checked Tomahawk Angel. All of the episodes are gone.
What?
They're gone. Tomahawk Angel. There's only one episode now. It looks like he pulled it off of Webtoon and replaced it with big announcement. It's been a while. Odie is not here. That's fucking like this fourth wall goofy shit.
Your big announcement is that you just fucking junked a bunch of your work.
I mean, he may be trying to go have it printed or something, but it's like at this point, I don't like from what I read of Tomahawk Angel, it sucked. And, we reviewed it. So, and speaking of reviewed it, that's another thing on our Subscribe Star is the internet's first ever review of Cyberfrog 2. And that's on the big $20 tier, but it will go up in a couple of weeks on the regular tier, as well as the first part of the review will just be an episode of the Shitty Webcomics Weekly, which will just be free. That's our free weekly videos. So
definitely worth money. Those are worth money.
Well,
I would give them away for free.
Legitimately groundbreaking videos.
Like too.
Every time we have reviewed a Comicsgate comic, it's changed the world. And that's not me. That's not my opinion. That's not hyperbole. We have legitimately fucking broken these comics in ways that they could never repair.
Breaking them down like an M16 and then reassembling them so that we can...
Upside down underwater.
So that we can climb to the top of the bell tower of comics.
But the thing is that, I mean, remember what happened with first Red Rooster, which caused Mitch to fucking have panic, and Mitch essentially destroyed his career. But then there was, of course, Lone Star and that kind of stuff.
But yeah, that's also the thing is, how much credit can we take for these people being shit at what they do?
Well, what we also did was, especially with the Lone Star review, and then also there was the Flying Sparks review, which apparently caused some serious depression among the creator. But with Lone Star, we showed that everyone else ignored objective flaws just to sort of sell the ideology of the book, whereas the quality of the book was objectively bad.
I mean, the ideology was poisonous too. The ideology was vomit.
But also, nobody else ever had done that before. We were the first people. So when we review a comic, people do stand up and pay attention, even if it's not the proles. It's the other creators who notice it.
It's hard not to feel superior. Lord, it's hard to be humble.
Yes, especially when you're perfect in every way.
Every way. I was wondering, maybe I should change my icon thumbnail, because we just had two extremely family-friendly Christian, wholesome Christians on our show together with this just image of girl being triggered so hard.
It's from a 90s comic, though. 90s comics are cool, right?
Everybody knows that the 90s comics were the best comics ever. Therefore, nobody is allowed to complain when they were clearly not good.
Mm-hmm.
You're not allowed to notice. It's a war on noticing. Hey, who else engages in a war on noticing?
Yeah, who is against noticing? Some people just seem to be against noticing.
What demographic engages in what would you call it? Anti-noticing?
Anti-noticing and anti-noticite, if you will.
They're anti-notice. It's like toddler. It's like, what's the racial slur for toddlers?
It's tyke. I'm an anti-toddlite. I hate toddlers, or tykes as I call them.
That's what another Comicsgate.
Wonderful
Comicsgate creator.
Yes.
I wanted to lean into how Doug TenNapel is not only still our friend, he's always been our friend. He's never going to stop being our friend. He's a better friend to us than to other people who claim to be.
And we are to him.
That they're his friend.
He appreciates us so much.
And people who say specifically that he's not friends with us, they're not good friends. They're not true friends. And he doesn't actually like them.
They don't really know him. They don't know anything about him.
He's just using them. And he
he's
should.
They
deserve to be used.
He's like Jerry Blank, who's a user and a loser, except without the loser part.
They're fat ass. Fat ass. What did you say? Fat ass. Or there's, I think from the movie, it's like she calls the
movie was kind
fag.
of disappointing, but the TV show was so good.
Yeah, she calls the teacher a fag, and he's like, "What did you just say?" And she's like, "What did you hear?"
that's a good example of how the show is funny. Is that
then he responds with, "I'd rather not repeat it," and she's like, "Well, I guess we'll never know." Like she's already forgotten.
Like now it's a mystery. It's lost to the sands of time,
lost to the ages.
Doug's so much a friend to you that he considers himself your friend. Wow, that's really nice of him.
But especially when people say that he's no longer friends with us, those people who are saying that, those aren't friends of his.
They're wrong, and they wouldn't know anyway. So whatever. Anyways, we'll wrap up before we hit 2 hours. Phew, thank goodness. But
fuck time, fuck this planet. God is being a God's being a little fucker again.
And fuck cape shit, but also should have listened to shitty webcomics. And we'll end with just
like, share, comment, subscribe, smash the bell, click
smash that motherfucking
subscribe
bell.
Click like, smash the bell,
smash the subscribe, bash the bell, smash the subscribe bell,
smash the like,
smash the unlike, smash the relike, unlike, relike. Just keep doing that. I don't know.
Back and forth.
But anyways, here's the new trailer for our old comic. Again, still trying to get number 2 of Literally Made. Villains of the Snow Sea 3, I'm hoping will eventually be made at some point this year. I'm hoping Arctile doesn't die or isn't put into secret prison or some shit like that. But here, though, is the nice, shiny new trailer that actually has some nice quotes. And again, ask yourself this. What do Tim and Mark and Doug TenNapel see in us that the rest of you don't?
Yeah, what do they know?
Yeah, what do they know? What do they notice? What do they appreciate that everyone else doesn't get? That everyone else just isn't on their level. Only one way to find out, and that's to check out our stuff. So
only one way to know is to be there.
Yeah, that's just like the skeleton with the middle finger that says, you shouldn't commit suicide. Today sucks ass. Tomorrow might not. Only way to know for sure is to be there.
Famous beloved character Death.
Yes, or Vic Rattlehead, if you will.
But anyways, Vic Rattlehead. He doesn't have the clamps on his face.
Yeah, or the things on his eyes. Yeah, that's right. Anyways, here.
Right. You're right that I'm right.
Oh, yeah, I agree with you. Anyways, all right. So wrapping up. Like, share, whatever. Check out give us money on Subscribestar or buy our comics. And here's the trailer for our oldest comic. And we'll see you next time.
My mom says I have to invite you to my birthday party on Saturday. Gee, I'd love to, but when I get home, it's like I'm literally fighting a life and death battle with my fellow warriors.
Whatever! My burden, it can never be shared among the commoners of this world.
Helen ready for teleport. Activate.
This still makes me laugh.
And Brian did a great job on the read, by the way.
Yeah.
Sorry about the delay, kid. Shock troopers surged through our front lines. I just got the teleporter set up again.
That's all right. Now that I'm here, they don't stand a chance.
Yay. All right. Yeah. Thanks for tuning in. See y'all next time. Bye. Bye.